Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Anti-Alienation Project. My name is Maddie, and today I'm going to be talking about something that is about parenting, but unrelated to parental alienation specifically. I was on TikTok earlier today, the Anti-Alienation Project. I am on TikTok there. If you're not following me, you go check it out. But I was on there and I was noticing, and I have been noticing this for a while, a trend of people choosing to not become parents, and not for reasons that you might believe. Like, reasons that first come to mind might be monetary reasons why you wouldn't be a parent, or perhaps you have some past trauma and it's preventing you from wanting to being a parent, your lack of resources, lack of support, whatever it might be. Or maybe you just don't have that instinct to have kids. Maybe you just lack that. But no, these people on TikTok were talking about something entirely different, and I wanted to explore it today. I found it fascinating, and I want to say a big, big, big disclaimer right off the bat, because I know this video is going to trigger some people. It is perfectly acceptable to not have kids. I have friends in my own life who are childless by choice and who never want kids. I respect that. I really do. I think that it shows a lot of maturity to know that, hey, I'm too selfish of a person to be able to bring another life into this world and give them the care they need. So I'm not going to have kids. I actually respect someone who has that point of view and makes that decision, rather than, hey, I'm selfish and I'm going to have kids anyway and neglect them or mistreat them. So that being said, you can do whatever you want with your body. It's not really my place to tell other people what to do with their bodies. I'm going to be coming at this issue from a wider lens, looking at it from a wider lens. Without further ado, I want to show you the first TikTok that really set the stage and got me to think about this in the first place. So here we have the first TikTok about how motherhood would ruin this person's life. And I want to know your thoughts in the live chat as well. Please let me know what you think about this. I'm curious to see if other people responded the same way that I did.
I do not want children. I have wanted children. So here are more reasons why I think having a child would make me hate my life. Quick disclaimer, I fully respect and support whatever you choose to do with your body. So please completely respect and support what I choose to do with mine, because what I choose to do with my body has absolutely nothing to do with you. Okay, let's go. To me, pregnancy is body horror. It is quite literally like the movie Alien to me. I hate it. It makes my skin crawl. The thought of there being a parasite-like thing growing and living inside of me that is stealing all my vitamins and nutrients, that literally my teeth can fall out. Don't even get me started on my stomach being big and you can see something like scratch. No, I hate it. I don't like it. I think pregnancy is way too romanticized, and I don't want that for me.
Okay, so starting off with pregnancy. I can see both sides of this because I've been pregnant 3 times. I have 3 kids, disclaimer. And before I gave birth to my first daughter, when I first found out I was pregnant, I was scared. I was scared of pregnancy. I was scared for my belly to get big. I was scared for all of the things that she calls horrific. And I I too was scared of labor, scared of the pain that would come with it, all of those things. It sounds like this woman in this TikTok might have a phobia of pregnancy. It might go that far. But I think this fear of pregnancy is actually quite common. And it's unfortunate because it seems to be quite black and white. There are people that romanticize pregnancy, sure. I mean, social media in general romanticizes everything. So when you see these cute little posts about gender reveals and, hey, we're having a baby, it all seems like rainbows and butterflies and the perfect little lives. But there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that is really difficult with pregnancy. I will give her that. She's not wrong about that. I've had really difficult pregnancies, so I can vouch for that.
Okay. Next, I cannot imagine having a long, stressful day at work and all I want to do is come home and do nothing. And then there's a little child that wants attention. There's a child that needs attention from me. And don't even get me started on, oh, well, if you have a good partner, sure, you can have a great partner, right? But that kid is still going to want both of their parents. That kid who hasn't seen you all day is still going to want to see you. And sometimes I just want to be by myself. I just want to read or knit or watch my show or do literally anything else than like have to like deal with another human. I don't want to do that.
So, Mama Cat Dawn is saying self-centered. Yeah, I think that that is a very selfish mentality. But I will say, I think it's good that if you know you're that selfish, if you have the self-awareness to know, hey, I'm really selfish. I'm not going to want to put this baby before me. I'm not going to want to come home and take care of a baby. It is probably better for that person to not have kids. What do you guys think? Do you agree with that? Because I think that at least having the self-awareness that you're very self-centered and not having kids is better than being self-centered and having kids. My point of what came up for me while I was watching this was thinking about my life before kids and how, yeah, you go through your day, you come home, you're exhausted, you're ready to just veg out and do nothing. It would be nicer in some ways. It would be easier to just relax, have no responsibilities. But I think what people who don't have kids might be missing is that having kids requires you to put someone else before yourself 24/7. And at least in my opinion, what that can do for you, what that's done for me certainly, is it has made me a more selfless person. It has made me a better person. Truly. It really has. And I think a lot of people are missing out on that.
I would hate my life if I lost my sense of independence and my sense of spontaneity. I would hate not being able to just do a quick trip to the grocery store. I would hate not being able to just go to the movies whenever I wanted to without having to hire a babysitter. I'm sorry, I hate children in movie theaters. There are simply some places where you do not take a child until they are ready. I do not want a screaming, crying kid in the movie theater. I hate that. Why would I do that to other people? What if I want to go to the movies and I can't? There's no babysitter.
That is the dumbest reason to not have a kid, though. That is the dumbest reason that you can't just up and leave and go do whatever you want when you want. Also, it's not hard to take a baby places. It's not hard to get the diaper bag, get the bottle, get the wipes, get the diapers, and take them with you. It really is not that hard. It takes a little getting used to. Yes, it's not that hard. But, oh my gosh, if you really are this selfish, it's better not to have kids. True.
What if I just want to do a quick trip to the store and now I have to pack a kid into the car? What if the kid doesn't want to go to the store? What if it's screaming and crying, but I want to go to the store? No, I cannot imagine that. I cannot imagine that. And lastly, but definitely not least, I hate the way society treats mothers. I hate the way society treats mothers. Mothers are not seen as their own people anymore. They're just seen as like birth givers, as like spawners of children. It is never, how are you? At that point, it's, how are your kids? How are you doing with your kids? No, absolutely not.
By who? I'm wondering who she's referring to here, because I don't necessarily think that's the case. I think other mothers are very quick to acknowledge the individuality and the person that you are rather than the mother that you are. Like my friends who are moms are always asking how I'm doing. Maybe that's not true for everybody, but I think that she's painting a very broad stroke of motherhood right now, and I don't think it's always the case.
Care too much about your kid, you're a helicopter mom. You don't care enough by society standards, you are a neglectful mom. No. And society does not put this much judgment on fathers. It just doesn't. I do not want that. I do not want that scrutiny. I would hate my life. Okay? I would hate my life if basically my autonomy was taken away from me and all anyone cared about was my kids.
She sounds really selfish. She sounds so selfish. Like I love when people talk about my kids, and I would love on my kids and appreciate my kids. I don't want the attention. I would rather my kids have the attention. That's crazy. To have that mindset is just crazy.
What about me? I was here first. I was here longer. These kids didn't even exist a couple years ago. Like, absolutely not. I would absolutely hate my life. So those are just more reasons. I can keep going. If you guys want even more reasons, I can do that for you. Mwah, love you.
So now you might think this is just one chick on the internet who's really self-centered and she knows it and she doesn't want to lift a finger for anyone else but herself. You might think that. I'm here to tell you no. This is a very, very widespread mindset among youth today. Scary to me. And the reason why I'm talking about this, actually, guys, is because of this right here. The rapidly declining birth rates in our country. Rapidly declining. So let me see if I can zoom in here. I don't know if you can see this right here, but in this graph, you can see that our birth rate in the United States is declining to such a degree that we are not replacing our current population. And this is by the CDC. This is a report you can find on the CDC. So we are not replacing our current population. It's going down every year, the birth rate, which is quite scary, to be honest with you. And this is across the world. It's across the world. It's worse in some other countries like China and Japan than the United States, but it's pretty bad in the United States too. You can see the birth rate went down from 2022 to 2023. It went down 2%. That's a lot. And, you know, I think there are obviously a lot of reasons why that is. I think that there are a lot of reasons why the birth rate has been falling. And I'm not really going to get into that in this specific video, but I will mention here are some proposals from the National Institute of Health. There's been a study done, and here's what they propose to fix the declining birth rate, which is promoting natural conception, reducing costs, increasing safety and accessibility, prevention of infertility. That was confusing to me. Like, what prevents infertility? I don't know. And then flexible part-time career posts for mother, education for child, like free childcare, easing economic uncertainty would definitely help, like affordable housing. I think there should be some type of tax cut for every child you have, honestly. They need to start incentivizing birth because our birth rates in this country are falling so quickly that it's getting to be pretty scary. But if you look at that graph I just showed and all the different proposed solutions for how to combat this issue, none of it mentions cultural or societal perceptions of motherhood. And I think there's a deeper issue here than all of those deterrents. I think there's a deeper issue than not having enough money to have kids, deeper issue than not having enough social support to have kids. I think that there are a large proportion of women out there, young women, who simply don't want to give up their freedom, quote unquote freedom, give up their selfish mentality and their selfish lifestyle for a child. And that's kind of what I'm finding a lot on social media. So hopefully this is not representative of all youth out there, but what I'm seeing on social media is quite scary. It really is. So let's watch another video.
Really see the benefit of having children, and I know that makes
Sorry, we'll try that again.
Selfish.
No, it doesn't.
But I personally feel like it's a very selfless act to have kids. And I think a lot of people have kids for selfish reasons, actually. I think they have them because they don't want to be alone. I think they have them because they want something to always love them. I think they want to see themselves in another person.
I want to pause there. I want to pause there for a second because, yes, I think a lot of emotionally immature or personality distorted parents, like the parents I talk about on my YouTube channel, have children for this reason. In fact, I think that that's why I am here on this earth. I think that my mom had kids to fill a void inside of her. I think that's why she had 5 kids, because I didn't fill the void. Neither did any of my other siblings. So she kept having more and more kids to try to fill that void that could never be filled. And I think that is a selfish reason to have kids, to want to have someone that will never leave you, to want to have someone who will praise you and love you no matter what. Someone to control. Definitely there are selfish reasons to have a child. And like I said at the beginning of the video, if you are that selfish, I hope that you have the self-awareness like that first girl does to not have children.
They want something for themselves, whereas I think if you are going to be a good parent, you have to be selfless and know that you are literally giving up your life to now take care of another human
and you don't
raise
think you want
them.
that?
The older I get, I kept thinking maybe I'll change my mind, and maybe I will change my mind.
When you meet the right person.
Maybe,
Yeah.
But even then, I just feel like I can't imagine being woken up in the morning to screaming toddlers, to grumpy teenagers, and this is going to make me sound really bad, to going to soccer games and traveling for tournaments.
Everything's
and
for somebody
school
else. Yeah.
meetings. And it makes me sound really, really selfish, but I would rather just spend my life worrying about me and my significant other.
Okay. I have just got to bring up this idea that I've seen, which is a culture of narcissism in our current society. I believe we live in a huge culture of narcissism. And I'm not saying everybody out there is a full-blown narcissist, but the narcissistic traits that have been endorsed by society that people promote is kind of disgusting. Yeah, being a parent requires you to be selfless. Being a parent requires you to give up your life and to put someone before yourself with every decision you make. But guess what? That's the whole point. That's what makes you a better person. That's what improves your character, your moral character. That's what gives you a sense of meaning and purpose. And people forget, or maybe they don't even know, that when you make sacrifice after sacrifice for somebody else, especially if it's a child that you love, that you created, that creates the biggest sense of purpose and meaning in your life. So while young women and young men too, who are too selfish, admittedly, they say they're too selfish to have kids, they don't want to put someone else before themselves. Okay, but what they don't realize is that they're missing out on the greatest sense of purpose and meaning that they will ever possibly achieve in this lifetime. The greatest, most powerful, most pure, unconditional love that you can ever experience in this lifetime. And to me, that is so sad. As I was watching these videos earlier on TikTok, because they're everywhere, I just started to feel so sad for these women. It's mostly women making these videos. I didn't find any of men about why they're choosing to be childless, but the sacrifice brings meaning. The sacrifice brings purpose. And yes, as Catania says, they are blind to the value of having a child. They can't even imagine that kind of love. Exactly. There is a purpose and a love and a joy and a peace out there from having a child that they will completely miss out on because of their selfish, hedonistic mindset. That to me is very sad.
And yes, I do see that there are certain perks, right? If I don't have kids, maybe I'll never know that love or have that bond or that relationship. And, my mom and I now are super close. It's like we wouldn't have that. And, who will I have when I'm older? But I just really don't see it that way. And I don't know if it's worth putting myself through that. And a lot of the time, too, I feel like people that have kids, it almost sounds like they're trying to convince you that they like it.
You have to do it.
Like that they're happy.
Well, there's a chance that they actually are happy. There is a reason why people who have kids sometimes talk a lot about how they love having kids, because it can be the greatest thing to happen to you in your life. It really can be. And I'm not saying it's not hard. It's very hard, but it's worth it.
I think people without kids realize how much free time they actually have.
Oh no, we do. We know, which is why many of us have chosen to not have children.
Like, they are practically on vacation 24/7.
I don't think mothers on maternity leave realize how much free time they have. I mean, they're
Okay, so if you can't tell, this TikToker is responding to another TikToker back and forth about her points. And I just gotta say, her talking about maternity leave right now, girl, shh, zip your lips. If you haven't been through pregnancy, childbirth, postpartum, if you haven't been through the roller coaster of hormones and what happens to your physical and mental state during that time, you have no right, you have no leg to speak on when it comes to these issues. Okay? She's crazy. If you're going to say that maternity leave is like being on vacation, you are very, very out of your depth. You don't realize that the placenta alone, when you birth the placenta, leaves a scar, an internal scar that is the size of a plate, a dinner plate. It takes 10 years for your body to recover from a single pregnancy. When you give birth, your hormones are 100 times more powerful than when you are in the worst mood swings on your period. And it goes from 100, and then after you have the child during the postpartum season, during the baby blues, it goes from 100 to 0. You go in a complete drop. It's like a drop zone. And you are an emotional wreck. You're wearing a freaking diaper. You're dealing with all of these wounds, mineral depletion, vitamin depletion, a lot of different emotions due to all of the fluctuating hormones. And you have to care for a tiny infant who is completely helpless, not to mention breastfeeding, which takes up 50% of your body's daily energy. And she's going to call it a vacation. Girl, just no.
practically on vacation 24/7. Kind of a wild thing to say, isn't it? If we want to talk about demographics that don't know something, let's talk about parents. I don't think parents know just how insufferable they are. I don't think parents, specifically mothers, know that they are the biggest deterrents for people who are child-free from making the decision to have children. I don't need to have children. You guys have shown me more than enough that you're miserable with that life.
Then you're hanging out with the wrong people. I swear to God, you are hanging out with the wrong people. If you are hanging out with a bunch of moms who hate their lives and hates being a parent, then you're hanging out with the wrong crowd. There are many of us out there who actually love motherhood, who actually find it to be such a blessing, to be a privilege to care for our children.
Now, don't get me wrong, I love spending time with my kids, but
If you are so happy being a mom, if you are so happy being a parent, why are you constantly on the internet talking about how child-free people this, child-free people that? you don't get free time. I'm always tired. You can't compare your tired to mine. My tired is just so unique. It's a tired that has never existed in the world before having children. Oh my God. You sound like you really love being a mom. To act like people who are child-free don't have responsibilities like work, or working more than one job, or going to school while working, or going to school while working more than one job, or having animals that they have to raise, or a home they have to take care of, or maybe a parent they have to take care of. To act like being a parent gives you a unique experience on being tired. Again, that's that insufferability I was talking about.
I'm just wondering why this girl seems so triggered. And keep in mind, you guys, like all the young people out there, preteens, teenagers, young people, they are mostly on TikTok. These videos are coming across their pages, and this is what they're learning, you know? Which is terrifying to me. And I think that, of course, there's a specific type of fatigue that comes with being a parent or comes with being a new parent. I mean, you've been through 9 months of trauma to your body, and birth being one of the scariest things for a woman to go through. I mean, your life is at risk more during childbirth than more than almost the rest of your entire life, statistically speaking. There are distinct elements of fatigue when it comes to parenting. I've gone to school full time. I've had pets full time. It doesn't compare to the fatigue that comes with being a new mom or being pregnant or being a parent. And I don't think that she can necessarily speak on that, at least not with anyone taking her seriously if she hasn't experienced it herself firsthand.
It's just funny because, like, I have friends that don't have kids, and I just get a kick out of hearing them say, like, oh, I'm so tired or I'm so busy. And I really try not to be that friend that's like, oh, well, girl, imagine if this, imagine it. Like, I despise people like that.
I don't want to be that friend to them. So I'm actually just going to come to the internet instead and say it to everybody here instead of saying it to their faces. Yeah. Because motherhood is awesome and I have so much fun doing it. You made a lifestyle, lifelong commitment and choice to have children. And it changes it. It changes your lifestyle. That's why many people who don't have children and have actively chosen to be child-free are child-free. Many of us don't want to give up whatever free time we do have to waste in our minds or spend or invest in your minds on a child.
Okay, so something that's coming to mind for me with this particular creator on TikTok is that a lot of people choose not to have children due to their own trauma. And I don't know anything about this girl and her background and whether she has family trauma or what her situation is. But I do think that trauma is something that will prevent a lot of people from wanting to have kids, particularly if that if that trauma happened in your family. I definitely think that's a cause. But just like I'm not going to enforce other people to have kids, I think it is really wrong for someone who is choosing to be child-free to bash parents for wanting to have kids.
I'm just saying, a person without kids free time is completely different than a person who has kids free time. So
That's true.
take advantage now while you can.
There's like a flip that switches in the brains of many parents, and it's like a cognitive dissonance insufferability switch. They don't really realize how obnoxious and you sound miserable. You do a great job selling me and not wanting to have children. Other child-free people, their content, child-free content, has never once persuaded me not to have children. But the content and the things I hear from the mouths of parents, they do. Because the last thing I want to do is just naturally become insufferable just because I became a parent. That seems to be like the standard deviation. That seems to be the route that people go down. It's like you can't be a parent without being annoying. You have to sit and complain. You have to sit and complain about how child-free people have it so easy, as if you didn't make the choice to have children. That was your decision. That was your decision. Maybe something you should have looked into before you had them.
All right, so I think that if you are choosing not to have kids for whatever reason, which is totally valid, and that's a choice that you have every right to make. If you've chosen that, and yet people with children trigger you and inspire an emotional reaction like we see here, anger, I think that you need to investigate your choice to not have kids and why you really made that decision. Because I would hate for anyone to miss out on the beauty of parenthood, the beauty of children, of getting to learn who your little kids are, of getting to spend time with them. Because you might have a chip on your shoulder or some trauma to deal with from your own parents or your own upbringing or whatever it may be. I really think you owe it to yourself to explore that and work through any trauma that might be influencing your decision to be childless.
This video is for someone who knows that they don't want kids, or maybe that thought has crossed your mind where you don't want children. I know that I 100% do not want kids.
Like I said, these videos are everywhere on TikTok. These young people are influencing the next generation. And you can see it playing out in the falling birth rates, which I predict are going to continue to decline. In fact, out of all the states in the US, I believe the state I live in, Utah, produces the most children. And I think that Utah is single-handedly holding up the United States from crashing in its birth rates. It's unbelievable to me, all of these women who are influencing the next generation about how being child-free and choosing not to have kids is admirable.
When I, date, or whenever I go on dates, it's one of the first questions I ask, because I do like to intentionally date. And if they're 100% on kids, there's really no, reason to continue getting to know each other, because that's not something that we are compatible on. You can't compromise on that. You can't have half a kid. And I would never want to bring a child into the world that wouldn't feel 100% wanted. But my therapist brought up, I had said, I feel like I'm too selfish to have a child. I want to do what I want when I want. I like going to the gym for 3 hours a day. I like going on random trips. I get to do that. I get to have that freedom because I don't have children. My therapist said it's not uncommon for people who didn't get their needs met as a child by their parents, and they would always have to meet their needs themselves. It's not uncommon for when they get older to not want to put someone else's needs before theirs. So, when you have a child, they always come first. A lot of your needs go to the wayside. She said that, and I was like, oh, shit. I never thought of it like that, and I mean, it's true. I like doing whatever I want, and the thought of bringing another human into the world, and I am a firm believer, if you bring a child into the world, that's your life. You take care of them with everything you have, and I don't want to do that. I want to take care of me with everything I have. I love my life. I love the freedom I have, and I don't know, just her saying that kind of stuck out to me. I definitely am, I guess if the word is selfish, I put my needs first. When I'm with a partner, I put both of our needs, they go hand in hand. But a child is completely different, and I don't know, it's kind of thought-provoking for me. So I don't know if anyone else has heard this, but I had never heard of that before. So yeah, I'll keep sharing things from therapy if you guys want me to.
I wanted to include that video because I think it offers a little bit more insight into how your upbringing can really influence whether or not you decide to have kids down the line, or even your fears regarding becoming a parent. So this is my experience, and I know it's the experience of a lot of kids who have a psychologically abusive parent, which is you become parentified. And especially if you're the oldest sibling, like I am, your responsibility is to take care of your younger siblings. You are given a lot more responsibility than you should have at your age. There's also enmeshment. So you are told a lot of things that are beyond your years that are inappropriate, like about your parents' marriage, or things about your parents, how your parents' emotions are. And a lot of parents that are really emotionally immature like this, they will actually use their child as a stand-in therapist. And so you become responsible for your parents' emotions. And all of this over time creates a person, a child, who is always on guard, worried about their parent in many different ways, worried about their parents' emotional state, worried about their parents' health, worried about if their parent is okay, or how they're feeling, or just wanting to be so in tune with their parent to stay safe. And what happens, I've learned this the hard way, is that you neglect your own thoughts, feelings, and needs as a child because you're always thinking about your parent. So it's almost it's weird. It's almost like you're a parent as a child, in that same exact way that you're a real parent when you're a parent. It's like when you're a parent, you have to obviously put your child and their needs first. You think about them when you wake up. You don't think about yourself. You think about them all day long. And if you have a need, if you're hungry, sleepy, if you have to go to the bathroom, whatever it is, it doesn't matter if your kid needs you. You don't get to do whatever you want. Your kid needs you. And if you're a child with an abusive parent who parentifies you, guess what? It's the same thing. It's like your parent is your baby, and all day long you were thinking about your parent. It doesn't matter if you're hungry, if you're sleepy, if you have to go to the bathroom, if your parent needs you, or your parent is upset, or your parent needs some emotional regulation, they come first. So I think there might be a population of people out there who have grown up as parentified children who, when they get to adulthood and they finally can escape from that parent's control, they're like, no more. I've had enough of this. I want to be responsible for myself and only myself. And the idea of being responsible for anyone else ever again is way too much for me to handle, way too much for me to even consider. Now, on the flip side, I think there also might be the parentified child who grows up, and I think this is probably where I fall in the categorization. I think that there might be some parentified children who grow up and they still do not realize what has happened, or maybe they get away from the parent, but they're still putting other people's needs first constantly, and they're not considering their own wants and needs and emotions, but they're always putting other people before themselves. Maybe they become people pleasers. And so it might be more natural for that subset of parentified children to seek out parenthood, to embrace parenthood, because they've been taught to put their parent first for so many years. They've been used to caring for their parent like caring for a baby. They've been used to neglecting their own needs. So parenting actually is easier for them to embrace. Now, I'm just talking out loud here, but let me know what you think in the live chat or in the comments. Does this resonate with you? Were you afraid to become a parent if you are a parent? And if you're not a parent, do you want kids? And if you feel comfortable enough sharing, if you're choosing to be child-free, I'm interested in hearing why. Really at the core of it, why? We're going to watch one more video, and then I will read some of your comments in the live chat.
So many things that we're just taught from a young age as women, and no one really tells us, but by the way, you can do it completely different. You don't have to do that. We don't have to do what our moms did.
The timeline and the time clock and the biological clock in children has been, and like really sitting and thinking like about that aspect has been one of the things, the most freeing aspects for me. I've never felt more zen or peaceful in my entire life, and calm and like not rushed. And I think it's because I've been having really honest conversations with myself about what was really fueling that like urgency and that rush and that countdown. And it's children and motherhood. If you would have asked me 6 months ago, a year ago, my whole life, I would have been like, no doubt I'm having children. Like, no question I'm having children. And I don't feel that way anymore. And it's a little surprising, but not sad. If anything, almost freeing, because I think I was really just operating from that place of it's just what you do. Like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna have children.
Right, like duh, like I have to. Like,
but like
when I watched this, and this is my second time watching this video, I just wonder, what about biology, Because having kids is a biological imperative. I know some people might be missing that biological urge to reproduce, but it sounds like she did have it and now it's suddenly gone and she feels free. It just doesn't add up. It just doesn't add up to me.
When I like really think about it, I'm like loving this time period of like feeling like I am the main focus in my life, like truly just me, and like what do I want and what makes me happy. My entire life, like I from like 7th grade was like put in positions that were like pretty crazy of like taking care of my family emotionally, financially, until like not too long ago. I'm like, it's my time.
Yes.
And it's like my turn. If a child fits into that at some point, like that's great and beautiful. And like, I know I'd be a great mother. I might have a kid at 40.
Yes.
I might not have a kid. It was like pretty like wild to say that out loud because like I just wouldn't have
Thought it.
So I wanted to include that last clip because it comes from a pretty popular podcast with like millions of followers called Call Her Daddy. And so these ideas and the beliefs that life is more freeing without kids, and that you should put yourself first to be happy, to be having a life of purpose and meaning and joy. These are not just ideas that are floating around every once in a while. These are very popular ideas that have traction. These ideas are the main ideas that young women are seeing on social media. So you have that, what we just explored. And then on the flip side, you have the idealized version of motherhood, which is, the perfect pictures, the perfect videos, everything is manicured and stylized. And it almost seems like you cannot attain that because you can't, because it's fake. And so the reality of motherhood is that it's multifaceted. It's the gray area. It's not the black and the white. It's the gray area. And I wish that more young women were given a more accurate depiction of what motherhood truly means, because they might see that stylized, perfect image of what it means to be a parent and think that that's what they have to have and that's what they have to attain. And when it's messy and hard and horrific during childbirth, like that first girl said, they're going to be really thrown off and they're going to be terrified, and they might have a hard time coping with the changes that motherhood requires. On the flip side, if all they're receiving are the messages that I just showed you in these videos, that it's okay to be selfish and that it's okay to not have kids because then you'll be more free and you'll be able to do whatever you want when you want, etc. That is even scarier to me, because then we're going to have a whole generation of young women and men, but I guess the young women are more vocal about this on social media, who are missing out on potentially the greatest source of meaning and purpose and joy and peace and love in their lives. Like I said, you can be selfish and choose not to have kids because you think you're too selfish to be able to take care of them. That's absolutely your decision. And if you are really that selfish, maybe that is the best decision for everyone. But we all have selfish tendencies. And I know this from my talking to my friends. I know this from going through it myself. I know this from logic, that when you have a child and suddenly you have to put someone before yourself every day, all day long, if you're a stay-at-home mom like me, that forces you to become a more selfless person. That will make you a better person. That will sharpen your character. That will add depth to your character. Is it hard? Yes. But the sacrifice means that you will have a purpose. Sacrifice provides meaning and purpose. And the sacrifice is what these young women are unfortunately being told is not worth the effort, not worth it. Thank you for being here, guys. I know this is not like a typical video, but I will respond to some comments real quick. So I like this comment. Fathers Anonymous says, I think the best word is purpose. You've learned and directed yourself into purposefulness. I think many people today either have a lack of purpose, misguided purpose, or just a different purpose. Absolutely. I mean, I have pets, I have a house, I have a husband. All of that also brings purpose into my life, but nothing will ever bring me the amount of purpose that my kids do, except maybe my marriage, but my family, I will say. I absolutely agree with you. I think that people don't realize that hard work and sacrifice is what is going to bring you purpose in your life. And I know this from just talking to a lot of my friends who are now in their 30s and they don't have kids. I mean, all of them, if they're being really honest with me, which they are often very honest with me, they feel like, okay, so I've worked so long, I've had all these different jobs and worked so hard in my career. I've obtained, these objectively amazing career goals. I have such a high salary. I mean, I'm able to afford whatever I want. I have achieved everything in my career faster than I even imagined I could, and I feel empty inside. Or I don't feel fulfilled. Or I still don't feel happy. And that's because no career is going to compare to the love that you will feel and that you will receive with your child. That might be a controversial statement. I don't know. It doesn't feel controversial to me. It feels true. Okay, so Jason Avoy says, thank you for what you do, Maddie. You're welcome. As an alienated father, your series has given me perspective and hope. I am a more informed and compassionate person now. I love to hear that. Thank you for sharing. My mission really is to talk to alienated kids, wake up people who have been manipulated to reject a parent. But if I can help parents in any way, especially by giving them an insight into what their child might really be experiencing, and to give them more empathy and to soften their hearts for their child, I think that is a very good secondary gain here. Jack Loop says, wow, this rings true. Yeah, I also agree. I think this cultural narcissism in our society is really encouraging women to not have kids and to just focus on themselves, focus on what they want to do. Katya says it is a materialistic society. She says they are blind to the value of having a child. They can't even imagine that kind of love. It breaks my heart, you guys. It's so sad to me that because you might be having lived just for yourself for years and you develop this selfish mindset of putting yourself first, just because of that, you would choose to not have children and to miss out on that experience, that love. That is tragic to me. And I think that's what really inspired me to do this live tonight, because the love I have for my kids, the relationship I have with each one of them is just so magical and so special. The biggest source of love and peace and purpose, and it drives me to be a better person 100% every day. I think that why I talk about motherhood a lot is because I would want everybody to experience that greatness, that great, awesome love. And it is hard. And I will talk about that too. It is hard. Mama Cat Dawn says, I weep thinking of the disdain I've heard my daughter and her friends talk of having children as a death sentence. Oh, man. I say all the time, my life truly began when I became pregnant with my first daughter. That's when my life truly began. Because that's when I started living for someone else. That's when I started living for something greater than myself, truly. That's very sad. And I do think that there are a lot of other factors we could discuss. Possibly I'll make another live stream down the line. Resources, financial resources for mothers and families. There needs to be a better system other than WIC and Medicare or Medicaid, whichever one. It really disincentivizes marriage, and it inspires women to remain single mothers because you only get those SNAP benefits and you only get that health insurance if you're single. So I could talk about that more, but that's not really what I'm talking about tonight. V. Palmer says, the love for your babies is overwhelming. You will do anything for them. These ladies don't know the feelings involved, which is very sad. Precisely. It's easy to talk about something and to demonize something that you only have misguided beliefs on, that you haven't experienced firsthand. If you haven't birthed that baby and held that baby and looked at that baby's face that you've carried for 9 months, and to hear their little cry and to hear their little whimper and to take care of them and to just feel their love and feel your love for them, it's a beautiful, magical thing. And if you haven't been through it, you can't imagine it. You really can't. I'll answer just a few more. Mama Cat Dawn says, I wanted to be a better parent than mine. I think that's what every person should aspire to be. Even if you had great parents, like, don't you want to be the absolute best that you can for your kids? Susan Manley says, I think you're on spot, Maddie. My 3 kids who were alienated all say and said that they didn't want kids. I'm not surprised. One is now gradually changing her position, but I think they are afraid at a subconscious level. Oh, yeah. To be real with you guys, even while I was pregnant with my first, I was very scared to be a parent. I was very scared. I was scared to have a daughter specifically, because I figured I really don't think that I had a good example of what it means to be a woman or what it means to be a mother. And when you grow up with an emotionally mature, dysfunctional, abusive mother, you are given a roadmap of who not to be, how not to act, what not to do, but you're not given an example of how to be a mother. And so sometimes you feel like you're in a room and it's dark and you can't see anything, and you're kind of like feeling your way around to try to find the right way to go about it. And it's hard. It's hard to find that confidence in yourself as a woman, as a mother, if you haven't had that example. Thank you guys so much for being here. I know this is a little bit off topic, but I think this is a really important discussion to have. And it's something that I haven't really heard a lot of people talking about. Regarding the declining birth rates, I hear people talking about other things like how expensive it is to have kids, and maternal health care and the disparities with maternal health care, particularly African Americans versus whites, and deaths and births and all of the issues that make it difficult. But I haven't heard anybody talk about the more deep underlying feelings and beliefs that young women have regarding parenting today. And watching these TikToks really opened my eyes. If you found this video helpful or insightful, as always, please like and subscribe. I know a lot of people watch my videos, but they're not subscribed, and simply liking the video, leaving a comment, and subscribing really helps me grow the channel. And I want to get this channel to be as big as possible, as fast as possible, so that I can educate the public and wake up a lot of other alienated kids. So hope everybody has a great rest of your week, great holiday week. I'm doing Vlogmas, so I'm trying to post one video every single day for the month of December. I'll probably stop like the 24th, but so far I've done it, and so stay tuned. You can expect a video every day, hopefully, from me. So please let me know what you think in the comments. It can generate a very lively and interesting discussion, and I'll see you next time. Bye.